Right, another important matter. Mums, dads, grannies, granda, screen time. How big a problem is it in our daily lives? I realised this week I can no longer read my own screen because it's too wee and my eyes aren't good enough. So things have to change. I don't have a computer in the house. The UK's 4 chief medical officers are united on this one. They warn that kids should be taking a regular break from screen-based activities, say every 2 hours. Guidance says mobile phones should be banned from the dinner table and bedtimes. But sure, a lot of families would never have a dinner table. Maybe some families don't even have a table. Anyway, surely it goes beyond children though, and adults maybe we should be setting the example, downing our phones as well. With his thoughts professionally and as a dad of 2 very talented young fellas, Dr. Kevin Curran is the Professor of Cybersecurity at Ulster University. Kevin, in a way it feels like swimming against the tide. You know, it's like telling us when we don't watch the TV. Sure, you were glued to the TV and your wains are glued to their screens and their wains will be glued to the next thing.
Exactly, but you've got to reach an appropriate level for their age, really. So, again, I don't think anyone listening would disagree that expecting your kids to put down their phone or their tablet when you're having a meal which you cooked over is, being too, punishing, really. That really it's important to talk as a family because just talking opens up other skills and other aspects. And, of course, it doesn't make sense for them to be buried in their head at that moment. Of course, ideally in the car as well, you would talk to your kids. But most kids are, that the parent themselves listen to the radio or whatever else, and the kids are buried in the screen because they're trying to get as much in before school and after school off social media. But especially at dinner times. And a lot of this advice from the 4 chief medical officers makes sense, that banning them from the dinner table should be part of a healthy approach to devices. Kids should take a break every 2 hours from screen-based activities. Industry, the social media companies must do more to keep children safe, that they have a duty of care. Also, using phones when crossing a road or any other activity that demands a child's attention, they really should be aware of this.
As Professor Dame Sally Davies, England Chief Medical Officer, says to the rest of the UK, it's tragic. Some kids are being exposed to inappropriate content. Kevin, we know this.
Yeah.
She said companies have a duty of care. We know that, but they don't keep children safe. They cite the case of little Molly Russell. The kid, that sort of she took her own life, and several clear steps for parents. With the chief medical officers saying they'll help keep children safe and healthy. But you told me last time you were in here, Kevin, and I was surprised. But I mean, you were saying I have to trust my sons. Eventually, it has to get to the stage where you have to trust them that they're not drug dealing from their bedroom. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's that. I mean, because it's easier. I know that people are tut and listening, but the ones who aren't right now are the parents of teenagers right now, or young people, because we know how difficult it is. And of course, you're out there trying to get your work done, come home, make the dinner, clean the house, feed the dog. And before you know it, it's bedtime and the kids have been on their screens all the time. And you're happy enough because they haven't been done bothering you. But it's so easy for someone who doesn't have children or someone's from a different generation to tut at our generation, because we're so busy. Life has become so hectic. And we ourselves, again, it's not unusual for the whole family to be watching, trying to catch up on the news at their mobile phone at the breakfast table themselves. But we just got to be aware that we've got to be available as parents again. And the guidance here as well also puts back a notice on parents to be available and to police their own usage. For the parents not to be stuck in a mobile phone or a tablet.
But you've no locks or filters?
No, none at all.
But do you have the conversation with your kids?
I just presume that No, I've never really sat down. The odd time.
Physician,
probably once I said, you do know you don't.
Yeah, but the physician, heal thyself.
Yeah, but that's it exactly. But I've watched and I could see what they were doing and the way they were, trying to get an intuitive feel. Well, are they behaving well? And also I can't in some ways, because if you think about it, my youngest son is got a screen lock on his phone. All of his communication really takes place through Snapchat, which is inferior messaging, which disappears afterwards or whatever. So I can't really see what he's doing. So even if I was to police and to say, let me see your messages, which is not going to happen really, he's going to hide it some way. He's going to hide it. So I've just got to presume that, again, generally children behaving good in the real world behave well online as well.
But how can you get it through to him or his brother that, look, I'm your dad, I want the best for you, I want to make sure you're safe? How do you impart that, or is that just instinctive?
You can do it. It depends. See, they were too old before and they're digital natives as well. I remember someone following my youngest son, who's 15 now, around the Mavadi when he was 2, and she's just following Maxine and says, sorry, I've got to ask you, is he really using that? It was Nintendo, device. We had a tablet, and she couldn't believe that he was using it. So he's been brought up.
Two.
Yeah, for, like I said, a digital native. So he's known no difference, really.
But it's like us with television. I'm just thinking back, Saturday night, I got my Saturday pound, blew it on sweets, and then I couldn't believe it because my ma let me have the TV in the bedroom, and I could watch Dallas on my own and all this, But I sat and watched the TV all night, and there was never a blink about it.
Oh, there is a worry. I mean, all right, the worry that we're worried, we're always worried about someone, but they're the exceptions. Someone meeting up with someone in the real world, being groomed. We're worried about the terrible content that they can see. But there's also fears that, it's still inconclusive the damage too much screen time does for young children. One study was quite clear that it does slow down speech development in infants from 2 to 5. Then other studies have come along and disputed that, saying that something like reading to your kids actually has more of a positive effect. So again, very little of it is conclusive, and even the Royal College of Physicians have come along and said actually there is no evidence yet to say how much it damages. But we do know obesity is one thing that it does lead to. The more time you spend on screen time, the less active you are, and that's a worry. Everyone should be
Do your kids
active.
play football? Do they kick a football?
They do, yeah.
Do they walk the dog?
They walk the dog, yeah. And just, thank goodness, I'm so glad they found hobbies organically, because it's very hard to force your kid out.
Actual things.
Yeah, and sleep deprivation as well. That there is a thing that it's harder for them to get a good night's sleep if they're just watching the screen for hours beforehand. So, but again, that's very difficult because none of us like to be alone. None of us really want to stare at the ceiling. And it's so difficult for any of us not to grab that phone beside us or the tablet.
So do you set times? Do you down tools at tea time? Do you sit down
the only one I can say, the only time I asked him not to use it is when we're having a meal.
Okay. That's
the only time, no. Otherwise, no. It's impossible.
You're not expecting that. You're expecting you to say, we've got it perfectly sorted out, but your dad, like every other dad,
I am indeed, yeah. But but I do agree with all this advice, and I believe none of this is stupid again. But putting the onus back on social media companies again to stop this persuasive design, which is like trying to encourage addictive behaviour where you share and get likes and rewards for things like sharing pictures. Again, I like to see regulation coming in on the social media networks to try to stop them trying to keep our kids within the walled gardens. But again, only they can do it, because again, so I welcome regulations which does put the onus back on them that they can't hook our kids as easily. But of course, we as parents have got to do things as well.
I know.
But you're right, I do try to go in at a certain time and say, come on, phone off now and go to sleep.
And I was thinking about that the other day, Kevin. I thought, I love the day when I'm free of social media. But I mean, we used to write diaries. Facebook now is the story of my life. I wake every morning and Facebook tells me it's been thinking about me and it cares about me. And here's a lovely person you met 7 years ago and all the rest. And in a way, if you ever detached from that, you're almost erasing, albeit a digital narrative, but a huge part of your life.
It is difficult. Just an hour ago, I went to Airbnb, booked in very cheaply to these apartments, which were 1/3 the price of a hotel, and they're lovely. And I just booked it, paid for it online on my phone, and went back into Google Calendar. Just happened to be going there I was going there to manually put in the address, and Google had added it lovely to my calendar because I logged in as Google on the site, and I just thought that works seamlessly. But technology, again, the only reason first of all, I've got the deal with Airbnb. I know people is wrecking cities, but I've saved a lot of money personally by using, and also by logging in simply with Google again, which again, some people don't like doing that, but it all was seamless for me. It took away one more task of me having to add in the address. So again, technologies are working for me, is saving me money.
Yeah, but it's the thing about
making my life
Google,
easier.
Amazon, Facebook, and all the big players. Kevin, it's a global monopoly now. It's not like
it is,
BBC,
and I'm
BBC
sad.
Two or anything. But it's like
I'm sad.
They can only have so much power.
Exactly, and I'm sad because I know the shops of the high streets of the future will be deserted. Apart from cafes which are rising up everywhere and things which you can't buy online, physical things.
Haircuts.
But yeah, and exactly, I'm sad about that. And I do believe a greater tax, for instance, just in that case, should be put on Amazon. I really believe the government should be stepping in and should have done years ago.
Kevin, thanks for that. Dr. Kevin Curran from the Ulster University.